games this season, they were tight. They were decided by less than 10 points. 2 of them were separated by just 2, and both of those went New York's way. And guys, it is 25 years ago to the day, April 30th, 1998, that perhaps one of the most famous brawls in all of the playoffs between Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning went down. Woj joins us at the desk now. What is it about these two teams, the history that they have, that yields all of this?
You know, you go back in time, and it still holds true today. Physical, competitive teams, and these Heat and Knicks teams now, in an NBA that's very different, they look a little similar to what we saw in the 90s. A player who had a lot of success against the Heat this season, Julius Randle. I'm told he is out for Game 1 with that left ankle sprain. He worked out before the game, was able to do a little more, but he's out. He played well against Miami this year, 27 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. New York will have to do it without him in Game 1.
Michael Wilbon, you are our resident historian.
This means I'm old, Malika.
It means you're still looking good and maybe a little bit on the But for you, how would you describe this rivalry?
That was good work, first of all.
That was awesome.
It's contentious. Look, I covered a lot of these guys when they were teenagers. I've known Patrick Ewing and Alonzo Mourning since they were teenagers and covered them at Georgetown every day. And I don't mention the rivalry to them. They are great friends. I just avoid it. It's a topic you avoid because it's that contentious, even between two guys who are brothers, okay? And so I sat at those games. We did. Stephen A., I know you were at a lot of those games. And you know what? Look, Celtics-Lakers is a greater rivalry. Boston, New York's a great rivalry. Boston, Philly, there's some great rivalries. This is the newest of those, and yet it is so contentious. Pat Riley has a lot to do with that. And that's the sort of the nexus, is it not? Don't you feel that way, Woj? That Pat Riley's involvement with both of them and the Heat, pun intended, the Heat throws off and the intensity he has. It's irresistible. Irresistible.
Riley brought a lot of psychological warfare to those series, between games, during games, with officials, with rival players and rival coaches. Jeff Van Gundy, who was his protege, that was a big, big part of it, too.
All nice. Beautiful job. Beautiful soliloquy there about the history. But damn it, this is what this is about right now. Julius Randle is going to be out. Obi Toppin, a 5 starts this year, has averaged better than 21 points, better than 55% shooting from the field. He's going to be key. This is the thing that I pay attention to when we talk about a rivalry like this. It's the physicality. This is what I'm paying attention to. I'm looking at a Mitchell Robinson that's got 29 offensive rebounds in the first round series, okay? I'm thinking about the fact that you don't have to go against Jordan. You don't have a situation where it's Melo in New York, but unfortunately there's LeBron. When you look at the New York Knicks against these Miami Heat, they're evenly matched, and that's what harkens me back to the rivalry of everything that you just showed. Because even though they had Mourning, and even though they had Hardaway and everybody else, they still had Larry Johnson. They still had, the Oakleys, the Ewings of the world, that kind of stuff. It's evenly matched. And yet again, here we are. We don't really look at the New York Knicks and the Miami Heat and say one or the other has a definitive advantage over them, the way you looked at the Knicks against Jordan and the Bulls and say, hey, they got Jordan. Oh, no. We look at the Knicks. We appreciate Jimmy Butler, but they can be had. And that's all I care.
The thing it reminds me of in playing in the league at that time is personal. Like, you took it personal against the opponent. It didn't matter if you went to high school with them, you went to college with them, you didn't help up the opponent, you wasn't exchanging jerseys. And physical intimidation actually exists in the league. You weren't making a shot and celebrating after the shot because somebody's going to knock you to the floor. And so for me, one person, and Woj says it, embodied it, and it was Pat Riley. Because I hate to tell you, Stephen A., he was the one that got away. And when he left, Wade, Shaq, now Jimmy Butler, Alonzo Mourning, they got 3 championships. And the Knicks are still now searching for that. And that's what made it even more personal. He developed Eric Spoelstra while the Knicks were still trying to find that next head coach. So I'm fascinated to see how this series plays out.
Well, today, a new chapter will be written. It all goes down at 1 o'clock Eastern in the Mecca. Game 1 between the Heat and the New York Knicks.
Let's
Ooh,
go.
baby, this is going to be face the Lakers.
Well, listen, when Steph Curry is playing well, when he's shooting 47% from three-point range and averaging over 31 points in 2 of the 4 Game 7s he's been in, they've won. When they've lost, it's because he's shooting about 33% from three-point range and he's struggling from the field. Steph Curry, as he goes, they go, particularly in the Game 7. We understand the other components are incredibly important. Klay Thompson's going to be important. Andrew Wiggins is going to be important. Draymond Green, his defense, his intensity, staying out of foul trouble, those things are going to be important. Certainly, you look at Gary Payton and Andrew Wiggins together and what they bring defensively. Obviously, it would be nice to get a Jordan Poole sighting, but in the end, it all comes down to Steph Curry. He's got to show up and he's got to be big because that's what Game 7's called for.
You know, those post-game sessions are entertaining. I mean, you can't really take them to heart. I mean, people have just won or lost a game. They're talking really off the top of their heads. But occasionally there's a nugget, and you hear it, and it stays with you. And I know I don't have any conviction about who I think is going to win this. But Klay Thompson, when he said, we're going to respond like the champions we are, that sticks with me.
You just gave me
to
goosebumps.
hear Klay say that. Klay is not a man of many words. He doesn't waste words. I've always loved listening to Klay because he tells you what he means in real time all the time. And more often than not, it's money. Mm-hmm. And when Klay says that, I'm thinking, you know what? See, Sacramento doesn't have that in the bank. They're not champions. I always talk about how this league is full of heartbreak. The playoffs are full. They're defined by heartbreak. They are for just about everybody. Okay, Bill Russell, Magic, Tim Duncan, they didn't have it. Mm-hmm. Everybody else has had it, has tasted it. It's probably Sacramento's time to taste that heartbreak. And so more than any structure or X's and O's or any of that, it's that will that Klay Thompson talked about that I think is going to make the difference.
And you're talking about a process of that heartbreak and learning from it, and then a number 3 seed now building on it next year. I'll take a player from each team, and I agree with Stephen A. that Steph Curry is going to show up. But for the Golden State Warriors, I had to look at this twice. Draymond Green has played in 4 Game 7s. He's only the 3rd player in the history of the league to average 15, 10, and 5 in Game 7.
Wow.
That 4-time championship pedigree you're talking about. But if the Kings are going to win, they need a Sabonis game. All of us voted for him to be All-NBA. And they're winning in a lot of ways despite him. In particular, in the previous game where he struggled to make shots, he had poor fouls, and everybody picked him up. So if the Kings are going to win on their home floor, they're going to need the Sabonis that became that All-NBA force to actually play like that on their home floor. But if I had to pick a team, I'm rolling with you. I'm not picking against Steph Curry and Klay Thompson in the Game 7. The Kings have everything in front of them that make me want to pick them. Then I think about who they're going against, and if I had to bet, I have to bet on them Splash Brothers.
I got to tell you, Stephen A., my heart says Golden State. My head says you can't just overlook these Sacramento Kings, even if Sabonis is saying, look, my eye got scratched, I'm worried about my vision and all of these other things.
Well, listen, first of all, we've got a guy, Malik Monk, who scored more points or more than anybody off the bench. The closest to him is Hachimura, which is, by about 32 points or whatever. He's the leading scorer off the bench in these playoffs. We got a guy in De'Aaron Fox that is a star, and make no mistake about it, he is something special. So when you look at Sacramento, you can't summarily dismiss them fresh legs, their youth, the fact that they can push the ball, push the pace, which is something that Mike Brown. We can't negate Mike Brown because Mike Brown played coached under Steve Kerr and is incredibly familiar with what some of the things that Steve Kerr likes to do, certainly his thinking. But in the end, this is what makes superstars who they are. When you know what the obstacles are, when you know exactly what they're going to do, when you know how they're going to do it, and there is nothing you can do about it. And in the case of Steph Curry, he's that one player that if he gets going, it doesn't matter what you know about him. You still ain't going to stop.
But if you're a Kings fan, I want to drill down on something. The Warriors have been terrible all year on the road.
Yes, sir.
And you would bet that they kind of already won that game. And you have this game on your home floor. And also you have to think Sabonis can't be worse. Their depth and their role players are going to play better, so much better at home. But if the Warriors are going to win on the road, Jordan Poole, I got a number for him, 25. Jordan Poole has to have a game where he's not complaining to the refs, where he's not falling on the floor too much. They're going to give you a technical foul. You're not going to get the leeway that the Splash Brothers and Draymond Green get with the refs. He got to have a big game if they're going to win on the road.
You know who's chilling at home right now, though? The Los Angeles Lakers. They're watching this game. They're sitting at home, and they're waiting to see who their opponent is going to be. If you are LA, who do you want to see?